we are back after literally what feels like 5 million years. We got back yesterday night after trying 3 times to get to get back into Canada. We are finally here. I am back at work. It's been a mellow day. It is still raining super hard, so the store is looking a tiny bit sparse because I don't think we've been able to get our book deliveries on time because, like I mentioned, the floods have heated a lot of traffic from the interior to enter the city because the highways are literally destroyed. So, yeah, I've been tidying up. And now I am about to enter so I'm in charge of updating our online store at the end of every week. So I basically insert any new books that we may have that's not on the website, as well as books that we feature on our Instagram. I have to upload them onto the website so folks can purchase books that maybe they liked from our Instagram onto our online bookstore. And yeah, so just a lot of admin stuff, as well as I did some inventory and sent over a list of things that we need to restock for the holidays to my boss. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've done this morning. As for my reading material, I am reading Geek Love by Katherine Dunn. Now, I know this is quite an older book. I think it came out in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And it is good. I am enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. You know, I think there's a lot of dialogue in this book, and I am not super used to that, to be honest. And it's very character heavy, which if you are that kind of a reader, this is literally going to be your favorite book of all time, because it follows a circus family, and we are told the story through the perspective of one of the children, but it's all about the different family members in this circus family. So the mom and dad, it's really interesting. I really like what the author is trying to do, because it's kind of fantastical and weird. The couple, Al and Lily, I believe. No, Lily? They decide to create, like, freaks, for lack of a better word, themselves to house their circus. So he starts pumping Lily with like psychedelics and other drugs and other prescription medications so that she produces offspring with interesting deformities or interesting physical traits and characteristics. And so that they can have their own circus, which is a literal byproduct of the mom and the dad. So we've got Arturo, the Aqua Boy. We've got Olympia, and she's kind of the main narrator in the story. She is a little person with a hunchback, and she's albino. And then we've got 2 conjoined twins. And what else am I missing? Oh, and then we have one who they refer to as Chick, and he moves things and command people to do as he wills with his mind. So that is the very interesting ensemble. So, and then the story kind of flips back and forth from the time when all these people were kids to now Olympia is an older woman, and she is trying to get to know her daughter, and the daughter has no idea that she comes from this background of like a circus family, because she was given up for adoption when she was young. We don't know how that happened. That's what we'll find out as the more I read on. But yeah, at the point where I'm at now, we are back in time to the past, when the kids were all little and kind of getting a feel for what it was like to be part of the circus and this family and the family dynamics. So like I said, if you love a character-heavy book, family dynamics and the nuances in that, on top of this being not just your regular family, but they are a circus family, and they all have these interesting quirks or deformities or unusual characteristics about themselves. So yeah, I picked this up because my friend Tanya absolutely loved this book, and like I mentioned in my blog, the bookstore in Tucson called Antigone's, that I love, somebody had written a really thoughtful review of this book, one of the folks that works there. So I was pretty much sold. So I am liking it. I'm third in. Yeah, I'm 119 pages, and I think it's almost 400, 300 something pages. So yeah, like I said, I am liking it. I just thought I was going to be like more like blown away, and I'm not feeling that like, oh my God, kind of feeling, you know, but that's okay. It's no problem. Not every book needs to do that, you know? So anyway, those are the bookish and non-bookish updates. And I will check in with you soon. I also forgot to mention something exciting. This guy arrived while I was away, and I am stoked to read this. It is a book of poetry. It's called Whereas by Layli Long Soldier. She is an Indigenous woman from the States, and she writes about colonial violence, her positionality as an Indigenous woman in the U.S., and this came highly recommended to me by none other than, I'll give you a second to guess, okay? 4, 3, 2, 1, Eva. This is her favorite collection of poetry, and she says that she just buys a bunch of these and gives them away to friends of hers because she just wants everybody and their mother to read this, and that's kind of how I feel about a lot of books, so I respect and love that. So after she told me about it, I obviously ran to order a few copies for the store and for myself and for her, and they finally arrived, so I can't wait to read this. I mentioned previously in a couple vlogs ago that I really want to venture into the world of poetry, and that's something very foreign to me. As of today, I've only read one book of poetry, and that was the Billy Ray Belcourt Indienne coping mechanisms that I loved and I've shared with you before. So yeah, I can't wait to continue on my poetry journey, and this looks absolutely stunning, and I can't wait. I've done a little bit of research on this author after a conversation, and she just sounds like such a cool, interesting figure that I can't wait to read their work. So this is what I'm coming home with. Are we shocked? No. Has been gone from work for a week and already is leaving the store with a book on the first day back. Classic. I mean, I can't help myself. Maybe I'll even read it on this vlog and we can talk about it. Oh, this is my little Tumblr mug. I think I talked about this a long time ago, and I was like, oh, I'm sure I'll show it to you later, and I didn't. So here she is. I love her. Awesome. Best purchase I could have made, honestly, for wintertime, for fall, for literally 10 months out of the year. I will be bringing a hot beverage to work in this. So remembered that the Dexter reboot is back, and I think it's been on for a few weeks, and I just totally forgot. So that's what I'm gonna do when I get home. So if you are like me and was excited about that when the trailer came out, like in the summertime, and you forgot, here's your reminder. Go watch the OA, because ever since I talked about that in my Piranesi vlog, I keep on thinking about that show, and I think it's one of the few shows that is 100% worth a rewatch. So maybe I'll do that too. Exciting times over here, folks. Going home and watching TV. Booyah. We love it. We love to be home. I also have to catch up on all my YouTube vids. Do you guys do that too? Like, you go off on vacation or whatever, you're like being social out in the world, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of videos to catch up on. And you're kind of like panicking because you know, have to catch up, but you're also really excited because you're going to have like hours of content to catch up on. That's how I feel. So maybe I'm going to share some of my faves. Would we like that? Would we be interested? You let me know. I don't know. Probably your faves are my faves, so I might be repeating myself because we all know these people. But anyways, I'm going to shut up now and work. Okay, speaking of updating the website with new books, I figured I would update you as well. So the first one that we got is M by Kim. This has gotten really, really great praises. I myself have not read it. Relates to family. I think it's a young boy who finds this baby and takes care of this motherless child that he finds in Saigon, in the streets of Saigon, I believe. And yeah, I think it's set in 1975. I've been selling quite a lot of this. So we got more in, and this is a new translation for us / for the world, I believe. Then of course, 3 novels by Yuri Herrera, which I'm not gonna bore you. We know we love him. This is a Yuri Herrera stan channel. So that's new. And this guy here, Trust by Domenico Starnone. And I actually saw this book already. I was like, where do I know this book from? And I was watching my new fave, Renee from So I Read This Book, and she reviewed and loved this book. So I can't wait to read it. Now I've added it to my TBR list. Good morning. Oh my gosh. Today is another day in which we get rained on. And I have the audacity to question why I'm getting sick. Maybe it's because you get rained on every second day. Anyways, I just went to the post office and it was not a pretty sight. I was trying to like hold my umbrella and like 3 boxes all at the same time, and good thing nobody saw that, or at least I hope. But anyways, yeah, what can I tell you? I went to my first hot yoga class, which, let me tell you, I am still feeling it. I loved it. It was super challenging, and there is no greater feeling than sweating profusely. Can anyone relate to that? I don't know, but I love just dripping sweat because I think, oh my God, it's so good that I'm sweating off all these potential toxins, and I don't know, just makes me feel alive and human. So there was a lot of that. I've also been reading Geek Love, which honestly, not really what I'm in the mood for at the minute. I kind of wish I would have saved this for another time, because it is very, like I said, character heavy, very plot heavy, and I'm just not connecting to the characters like I wanted to. It's like a fine story, and I think in a different time I would have enjoyed this book, but right now I want more of like a thinky woman book where you're like inside the character's head and not so much like a stereotypical plot driven book, or like that follows that kind of archetype. Yeah, so where are we though? Arturo, the Aqua Boy, has now made it his goal to kind of monopolize and make his show the star of the circus, so much so that he's actually started a cult called Arturism, where he has kind of realized that there are people that are drawn to his show that feel disenfranchised or feel that they're just unable to fit into a group and find purpose in life. And so he starts to exploit that, and the way that he does this is by telling these very vulnerable disenfranchised people to start cutting off limbs and therefore become more like him, and therefore be part of this community and this network of people that feel equally and worship Arturo. So it's really freaking weird. I did not expect that random twist, and I typically do enjoy reading about like cults and that culty environment, but for whatever reason this one's just not doing it for me. But yeah, so everyone's like annihilating certain like parts of their body. It starts off with like your fingers, and yeah, it's you know what, kind of like these E's on the cover. See how they're all kind of like chopped off, similar to body. I mean, this is like a big reach, guys, okay? I'm like putting meaning into something inconsequential that maybe wasn't done intentionally, but I choose to think that it was. That's what a sociology degree gets you, drenching everything with meaning, even stuff like this, bonds. But anyways, yes, so that's where I'm at. It's all very complicated and not in the best way. Like I said, I think had I read this book when I was younger maybe, or yeah, just maybe when I was in the mood for something like this, I maybe would have had a different opinion. But as for right now, I just kind of want to finish the story and move on with my life, which is not a good thing. But we've been here before. So anyways, yeah, I'm gonna continue to unbox. Delays have been a common thing these past couple weeks because of the floods, like I've mentioned before. So pretty devastating stuff. So yeah, let the book unboxing begin. Good day to you all. We are back at work. We finished Geek Love, and I think this is going to come as no surprise, but just wasn't my cup of tea. I think the book was trying to do a little bit too much for me. Like there was a cult element, there was a like mother-daughter like fractured relationship situation going on. There was also the larger like family dynamics on top of that, them being like a circus family, and it was a little too fantastical, a little too absurd for me. And I hate to say it because Tanya, my friend who recommended it to me, is absolutely lovely, and all their book recommendations have been beautiful and great. But this one just, I don't know, wasn't for me. And like I've said, I think it's also a matter of just reading it at the wrong time. But anyways, I am now reading Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown, and I'm only like 15 pages in, but it's already incredible. I'm really enjoying it. She is using this book as an invitation for the reader to start conceiving of strategizing new ways and exciting ways of looking at the world around us, looking at how we organize, how we enact change, how we can construct a network of solidarity and of reciprocity with each other and the natural world around us. So a lot of what she's talking about in relation to the natural world is to look at that as a means through which to inspiration from, and she calls it biomimicry, I believe, or she doesn't. This is like a science-y term that I didn't know existed, but biomimicry has to do with looking at the complex systems that already exist out in the natural world, and apply that to the human world, and that all the answers are already at our disposal, or they're already there, present, just waiting to be utilized by us, and to use the beauty of the natural world and implementing that into our lived experiences. And that really resonated with me, and I could not help but make a lot of parallels between what Robin Kimmerer, the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, is trying to say with her work. Adrienne Maree Brown is echoing that, and actually she mentions that a lot of her ways of thinking are largely influenced by Indigenous First Nation peers of hers. So anyways, I am absolutely loving this book. Okay, we have relocated because halfway through I realized that there was maintenance guys outside putting the Christmas lights up, and I was like, I don't really want them to see me just talking to myself, and I feel like I'm like hidden back here. But anyways, I was talking about how a lot of her theory is influenced by the work of Octavia Butler, who is a Black sci-fi writer. I have actually read one of her books, which I really enjoyed, called Kindred, and I devoured it. It was so good, and it just inspired me to read more of her work. because what Adrienne is saying is that sci-fi is such a fertile means to conceive of alternative worlds. We get to play out what these utopias or these alternative realities may look like, using reciprocity, using anarchy, or whatever alternative to our rugged capitalist patriarchal society we can conceive of. We can sort of play it out in the world of science fiction, where the possibilities are endless, and focusing on figures that in our current reality are often pushed to the margins and are silenced. And I think the same can be said actually for Samuel Delany, the other sci-fi writer that I mentioned last reading blog that I read last week. He's also great in breaking the bounds in the narrative and providing space for Black voices, Black figures at the center of the story, queer women. So anyways, it's just really cool to see, and I can understand why the author is so intrigued and captivated and inspired by the work of a lot of science fiction writers and science fiction as a genre itself. So that has been really cool. It makes me want to push it onto Charlie for him to read. So yeah, that's what we're reading so far. What else has happened since we last I went to yoga. Still going strong. I am loving it. I am still a little weakling. So much so that I was like, girl, this is so embarrassing. But I can't even do side plank anymore. That is how weak I am. My left arm was like a noodle. I was like, ooh, shaking all over the place. This is embarrassing, but it's all about pushing yourself. And one day I will be back to doing side plank on my left arm, and this will be a strong tree. And right now it's a spaghetti noodle, but we will get there. Mark my words. Anyways, regardless of me being a weak hoe, it just brings me a lot of joy during and after, and even before. I get really excited for my classes, so that has been really nice. I watched the first episode of the Dexter reboot, and I thought it was bad. Poor Dexter is holding that show on his shoulders, and his shoulders alone. Like, the writing I thought was not good, not poetic like the old Dexter used to be. The acting was meh, and it was all kind of cheesy and kind of cringe, to be honest. So, hot take, I don't know, you let me know, but I had way higher hopes, and I was just kind of like disappointed. So I actually don't think I'm gonna rewatch it. Back to Succession we go, and The Sopranos, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Dad brought me a scone. Good morning. So it is a new day at work. I think I'm just gonna call this a work day in my life, because I don't think I filmed any clips outside of this space, which is totally fine. But I'm still reading Emergent Strategies, but something happened the other day that I forgot to mention, and I just love it when these kinds of things occur, and that is when you're reading one book and an idea or a sentence or a concept really strikes you, and you find that same idea or that theme in another book. And this just happened to happen in such a perfect, like, sequential order that was even better. So I was reading Citizen, which I can't wait to discuss in my wrap up, because this book was absolutely incredible. And one of the lines that really stuck was this: because white men can't police their imagination, Black people are dying. And it's just a beautiful poem. This book weaves together poetry and essays to discuss microaggressions and race relations in the US. So anyways, that line was super striking, and I just immediately archived it in my brain. Then I'm reading this and hear what she has to say. So it's almost like a continuation of the same thought. Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and so many others are dead because in some white imaginations they were dangerous. And that imagination is so respected that those who kill, based on an imagined racialized fear of Black people, are rarely held accountable. And she just continues. But I was just like, wait a minute. Something that
just one of the many lines that I took away from this book that I happened to find in this one. So anyways, it's great when that happens. Yeah, authors in conversation with one another and expanding and exploring each other's work, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is a really cool thing to see. So this is something I typically do if I get lucky, but every time I finish a great book, I try and put it in one of our center tables. So I finished Citizen, an American Lyric by Claudia Rankine, and it was phenomenal, and we happened to have several copies of it, so I put it out. And the same can be said for Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. Loved it, and we had 3 copies, so here they are among really good company, as you can see. So yeah, so this table is our nonfiction table. That one is new fiction releases, so obviously not adding very much to that table because that's contingent on when the books came out. And then this table here is all our translated fiction, which is awesome. Of course, have to have Yuri Herrera, and we've mentioned in this vlog that new release, at least for us, of Trust by Domenico Starnone. And yeah, another day where I sit. Hello, so we've got some updates. I finished Emergent Strategy and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It left me feeling really hopeful, which is such a nice and unusual feeling, because typically when I read works around the social justice advocacy sphere, I typically feel the opposite, especially working in that area. I've mentioned on here before, but I volunteer for a couple organizations that provide immigration legal aid and immigration rights and advocacy, and that work in and of itself is quite intense. It's so crushing to see how the system works in the States as well as in a Canadian context, because I work for 2 organizations, one organization in the States and then another one here in Canada. And it's just so heavy and just so upsetting, and I get quite angry. So it was a nice kind of refreshing gulp of water like to know that there is hope and there is resilience and there are ways to imagine a different, better, more interconnected and harmonious society. Anyways, really enjoyed it. And I've been reading a few of the poems in Whereas by Layli Long Soldier, and this has been a trip and a half for me. Like I said, this is I think my second poetry book, and oftentimes I feel like I am not smart or worthy enough for these words, but it has been such a joy to dip into this book, so thank you, Even. I actually took some notes on top of my work notes. But what I've noticed from the poems that I've read so far is that she plays a lot with punctuation and the lack thereof, and how that figures into our structuring, not only of like the actual like words and sentences, but how that influences the way that we perceive or make sense of what we're consuming. So I've really liked that, as well as the specific arrangement of the words on the page and the feelings and imagery that alone evokes in you, or at least it did in me. She's really concerned with the usage of language, obviously, and a way in which she explores this is by highlighting the inaccurate translation of indigenous words, and how they're often so reductionist or reduced when translated to the like English equivalent. And she's kind of unpacking and exploring that, which has been really cool. And the poem that I'm currently reading actually has to do with a bit of indigenous history in a US context, which I am quite unfamiliar with, to be honest. It's not something that I am as well versed as I am in a Canadian context, because that's what I studied in college, as well as the kind of books that I've read around Indigenous sovereignty have largely been focused in Canada. So this is going to be quite eye-opening and informative and insightful for me. So I am absolutely eating this up. It is so good. So if you are a poetry newbie like me, pick this up. If you are a poetry lover, pick this up. If you haven't dabbled, or you're an expert, or you're a poet, pick this up. Anyways, yeah, that's all I've got for you. I'm gonna wrap my day up at work, and I've been listening to jazzy Christmas instrumentals because, see, I grew up in a household that hated Christmas carols. My mom was not a fan, so naturally, I freaking love them. However, I can't really listen to like 8 straight hours of like singing Christmas carols, but the background instrumental tunes, abso-freaking-lutely. So I've been just enjoying my Christmassy vibes up in here because I make the rules. Sorry, Mom. Anyways, I'm gonna conclude this reading vlog / just work day in my life. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a lovely holiday season. I hope you're reading some good stuff so we can end the year on a high note, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.